So the sermon is entitled To Be or to Become by Reverend Rod Richards from the Unitarian Universalist in San Luis Obispo, California. So I want to begin with a cartoon. It was created by Joe Dactor and appeared, I believe, in the New Yorker magazine originally. It was one of those that took a minute to sink in the first time I read it. Here it is. Two children in a child's room sitting on the floor playing with toys, and one is asking the other, "What do you want to be when you give up?" We're so used to hearing the question, what do you want to be when you grow up, that we might misread it at first, supplying the expected word rather than the one that is there. What do you want to be when you give up? Now, I admit that I initially appreciated this because I have a slightly perverse sense of humor, and I like the edgy, dark quality of it. The recognition that many of our childhood dreams, for a variety of practical reasons, are never realized. We did not become astronauts or professional athletes or movie stars or any number of other aspirations that may have grabbed hold of our imaginations in our youth. What do I want to be when I give up some of the fanciful and unrealistic goals of my childhood? However, not everyone shares, or should they, my perverse sense of humor. And I'm pleased to say that in preparation for this sermon and with the material provided by Soul Masters Matters for this month's theme of becoming, I am pleased to say that I may be able to provide a more positive and healthy justification of my admiration for this cartoon. First, let me share some of the quotations. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." Brene Brown wrote, "To set down those lists of what we're supposed to be is brave. To love ourselves and support each other in the process of becoming real is perhaps the greatest single act of daring greatly." Albert Schweitzer wrote, "The path of awakening is not about becoming who you are. Rather, it is about unbecoming who you are not." There is a theme running through the words of all these great thinkers. First, becoming myself, or coming to see and understand myself, is a worthy goal and indeed a primary task of life. Second, this task of becoming myself requires giving up some things. Schweitzer actually says giving up all of the expectations and aspirations of someone I am not is all that is required. You are who you are, and as soon as you clear all that other stuff away, as the poet Derek Walcott put it, the poem that Jeannie just wrote, you will greet yourself arriving at your own front door. Brene Brown calls it becoming real, bravely setting down those lists of what we're supposed to do. Emerson says, it is the greatest accomplishments to be yourself. So now think of that cartoon again. What do you want to be when you give up? When you give up trying to become who you are not? When you give up checking that list of what you're supposed to be? When you give up worrying about the world urging you to be someone other than who you are? What do you want to be when you give up? And this also helps me to explain what may seem like a contradiction in messages we send as a congregation. Because on the one hand, we say, we welcome visitors and new members with this message that you are accepted here exactly as you are. Be yourself. Bring your whole self here. You're enough. You are blessed. You are loved. You are loved now, just as you are. All true. And then we hit you with the necessity of deepening connections and nurturing spiritual growth and grabbing hold of the possibilities for transformation, not only of society, but ourselves, of our individual selves. Does that make sense? We accept you as you are. Now grow, change, and transform yourself. However, think of it another way. Change, as our old Greek philosopher friend Heraclitus said and pointed out long ago, change is the only constant. Change is the only constant. Things and we are changing all the time. So the question is not if we will change or not. The question may be, are we attentive to the changes that are coming? The changes that are occurring? Are we mindful of them? Are we reflective in helping to guide these changes so that they may fully understand, so that we may fully understand ourselves and thus help shape our responses to the world around us in ways that point us toward our highest aspirations? When we sing, "Come, come as you, whoever you are," we mean to say that there is no preparation or requirement needed to enter here, so join in with this community. And we also understand that whoever you are is not static quality. Come as you are, realizing that you may not fully understand who you are, and we invite you into the exploration. That is why in the third principle of the Unitarian Universalism, we talk about acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth. We accept one another where we are, realizing that we are all, always and forever in process of becoming, or in the words of Albert Schweitzer, unbecoming. Unbecoming who we are not, so that we may fully be who we are. But lest I think of that as passive, I am who I am, how can I not be who I am? These authors remind us that it is work. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Accomplishment. To set down those lists of what we're supposed to be is brave. To love ourselves and support each other in the process of becoming real is perhaps the greatest single act of daring greatness. A brave and daring accomplishment. The path of awakening is about unbecoming who you are not. A path, not a place, not a spot where you stop, but a path which you travel. This is work, ongoing work. We engage this work throughout our lives. We accept you as you are, and we invite you into the work of discovering just who you are becoming. I love the words of Rebecca Edmondson Lang. Here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. You see, that pressure is real. We would not need to say the words, "Here you need not hide, not pretend, nor be anything other than you are and who you are called to be," if there was not pressure to hide and pretend and be something other than you are. There would be no reason for the poet, like Derek Walcott, to write about greeting yourself, arriving at your own door, and loving the stranger who was yourself. If there would be no reason if there was not pressure to ignore your true self in pursuit of ambitions and aspirations and checking off items on the list of who we're supposed to be. There is pressure to be who we are not. It is work to find out who we are, and then to realize that we never find out once and for all, that can only do our best to travel as faithfully as we can on the path of awakening. And that work, that journey, we believe, benefits from a community of people who recognize and support one another in that work. A community of people who seek to love ourselves and support each other in the process of becoming real. Theologian Howard Thurman writes an oft-quoted passage, "Do not ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive." Ask what makes you come alive, which is another way of saying, find out who you are. Thurman has taken the position that what the world needs is not people figuring out what the world needs and trying to adapt themselves into being what they think the world needs, because that's just another one of those what we're supposed to be lists that Brené Brown urges us to set down. It's just another way that the world, or our conception of the world, or our projection of the world constantly tries to make us something other than who we are. Thurman is saying, and I think this is what we are saying as a congregation, that he thinks the world needs you. So the more you can understand about yourself, finding out what makes you come alive, not what you're supposed to be or do, or what you think is supposed to make you come alive, the better off this world will be. Here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. The world needs you. The world needs who you are and who you are called to be. Think again of the cartoon. What do you want to be when you give up? What do you want to be when you give up trying to become who you are not? What do you want to be when you give up checking that list of what you're supposed to be? Of when you give up worrying about the world urging you to be someone other than who you are? What do you want to be when you give up hiding or pretending or striving or becoming anything other than who you are and who you are called to be? Give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, the stranger who knows you by heart. So may it be.